Okay, I'll continue with the Gemara. We're holding here in the Gemara Masechta Megillah. Megillah. A long time ago. Two Masechta since, I think. Holding here Masechta Rosh Hashana, Abdallah and Beis 4b, very bottom of the page. Yesterday we went through, good morning of Label, Shalom Aleichem. Yesterday we gone through the sugya of Pezer Keshev. Pezer Keshev. These 6 letters, each one stands for another unique feature of Shmini Atzeres. How is Shmini Atzeres different than Sukkos? And we said it's unique in 6 different ways. Some of those ways where you make a bracha of Shachianu, you make a bracha for the king, you have a new karbanas, a new lottery that any of the 24 shifts of Kohanim could bring a karban. So Shmini Atzeres, which is these last days of Sukkos, over here in the yellow, is different than the first days of Sukkos in regards to these things. You had a special song in the Beis HaMikdash. You say a different nusach in davening. You say Yom Shmini Atzeres Chag Hazeh. The Gemara says, Aval inyan tashlumin, regarding paying up your pledge, the due date. If one had to pay up their pledge to the Beis HaMikdash by Sukkos, whether like Rabbi Lezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon, who says that every pledge has to be paid up by Sukkos, or if it's the third or second or first Yom Tiv that you have to pay it up by. Regarding filling your pledge, you have, if you pledge to bring something to the Beis HaMikdash, and the due date would be Sukkos here, you have until the end of Shmini Atzeres to pay it up. You got 8 days to do it. Divri Akol Tashlumin Dirishanu. Everyone would agree that all these opinions we said before, that it is considered to be as Sukkos in regards to paying your duty, your pledge, on time. The Tanan, as we've learned in a Brisa, Mi shelichag Yom Tov Rishon shel Chag, someone who did not celebrate Sukkos. What do you mean you didn't celebrate Sukkos? It means that they didn't bring a karban to the Beis HaMikdash like they're supposed to bring on Sukkos. Let's see if we could change something. Let's see if this will help. Someone who did not, that might help, bring their obligated celebratory offering. Now, a karban chagiga is a whole tractate of Mishnayos and Gemara called Masechta Chagiga, where somebody who came to the Beis HaMikdash on Pesach, Shavuos, or Sukkos had to bring a special karban called Chagiga, which was partly given to partly burned on the Mizbeach, partly for the Kohanim, partly for the owners, a karban shlomim. And it had to be brought every single Yom Tov, and it's an obligation, because if you need to bring it, that means you will definitely have meat on Yom Tov, because not necessarily is everyone going to always have meat for Yom Tov, but if you have to bring a karban where you get some of the meat, it's a simcha. So choyeg is called haragel v'Yom Tov acharayin shel Chag. So a person, if you did not bring it, your karban chagiga on the first days of Yom Tov, on Sukkos, you can still bring it on Shmini Atzeres and on Chol Hamoed, meaning that regarding paying up, bringing a karban, what you have to bring, Shmini Atzeres is part of Sukkos. Based on all this, the question we now have, going back to in Parshas Re'eh, Once again, it says you should 3 times a year come to the Beis HaMikdash, b'chag hamatzos, b'chag ha-Shavuos, u'b'chag ha-Sukkos. On Pesach, on Shavuos, and on Sukkos. And we said that the fact that they're put together shows you the halachas are the same. Which halacha? Halacha of the next words. Lo yiras pnei Hashem reikam, that you have to bring a carbon to the Beis HaMikdash. If you come up, you must bring a carbon. And you bring 2 oilas uriya and chagiga, sometimes a shalmei simcha as well, if you have many people. And just like Pesach is a 7-day holiday, and therefore you could bring your carbon all 7 days, Sukkot also becomes an 8-day holiday, and you can bring your carbon all 7 days, or all 8 days rather, including Shmi Atzeres, which is its own independent holiday, not connected to Sukkot. And we say that on Shavuos, although it's only a 1-day Yom Tov, you have 7 days to bring your karbanos in the Beis HaMikdash. If so, the question is, why do we compare Shavuos to Pesach, compare it to Sukkot? We say just like Pesach has 7 days, you can bring your obligated karbanos and your pledges that you have to pay up by that time. So too, Shavuos is 7 days. Why not compare it to Sukkot? Idea of hekesh, that if you're neighbors, you have to share some common ground, and therefore, you're both responsible for the sidewalk on the street, and you both get the benefit from the street light on the street. So why not compare it to Sukkot and then say Shavuos could have 8 days? Why compare Shavuos to Pesach and then say you can only bring your karbanos for 7 days? Answers the Gemara. It's a very famous line, a very famous rule. Tafasta meruba loy tafasta. Tafasta muat tafasta. If you try getting too much, you're not going to get anything. If you try getting a small amount, you'll be successful in getting that amount. If you ever go to a game show and you win a big prize, and then they say double or nothing. And here's the rule: tafasta meruba. You do double, but you might not get anything. But if you do something small, you'll definitely grasp at something. So we have 2 choices. You could either learn Shavuos from Pesach or learn Shavuos from Sukkot. If we're learning Shavuos from Sukkot, then Shavuos you would have 8 days to bring the carbon. Consequently, nowadays you would have not saying Tachnan all the way through Yud Gimel Sivan. Or you could choose to learn from Pesach, which is a shorter Yom Tov, only 7 days. So better to, when you're learning something new, something unique, you grab onto the smaller thing. Because if let's say the halacha would be that by Shavuos, you could bring karbanos for 8 days and we limit it to 7, then for sure you brought it at the right time. But if halacha would be that you can only bring karbanos, you pay up your karbanos by Shavuos, the Shavuos karbanos for 7 days, and you made it 8, then all those people will be bringing on the 8th day would not fulfill their obligation. Right? They would be bringing the carbon after the deadline is up. So therefore, better, if you want to compare Shavuos to one of these 2 Yamim Tovim, Pesach or Sukkot, you compare it to the one which is less of a chiddush, because less of a novelty, in order to definitely at least walk away with something that would be good. A person will definitely have fulfilled their obligation and be completely valid. And every Yom Tov, that's the way it works, including for Shavuos, that one can bring the karbanos up till the proper time. It's a very beautiful sefer called the Mavoi Lechachmas HaKabbalah. The introduction to learning Kabbalah. Because if you take the Zohar itself, obviously it's not really understandable without first having a full background in the Nigla the Torah, I mean Torah Shebeksav, Torah Shebal Peh. And then to take everything out of the simple meaning, because simple meaning of the words is very hard to fathom, to understand. So there's a whole organization, you could say, which comes together, and they give people a lot of the basics in the Limud Kabbalah to understand what exactly the context of what it's saying, of the Ari, the Rashbi, etc. So it explains what it says over here, tafasta meruba lo tafasta. If you try grabbing onto too much, you're going to be left with nothing. Tafasta muat, if you try grabbing onto a little, then you'll actually have it. Meruba, yakal yiglana, greatness is enkate, something infinite, and muat is the idea of miyut, the idea of making the or of Hashem smaller, the tzimtzumim. So when Hashem created the world, Hashem was tafasta muat. Hashem made the world with tzimtzum, getting smaller and smaller. But this world, tafasta, it lasted. However, tafasta meruba is before this world, before the world of Tikkun, right? We have a world of Toyu. And when the world in Toyu, you had Iris merubim v'kelim muatim, a lot of Iris, too much concentrated light of Hashem, and very little kelim, very little capability to handle those lights of Hashem. So Hashem did the same thing. When He first created a world of Toyu, tafasta meruba, a world with many, many lights, lo tafasta didn't last. But tafasta muat, when we created the world with miyutim, with small things, then tafasta, then it lasted. Very interesting pirush on these words. So, continues the Gemara, last word on the last line on Dal Amid on 4b. Lema Yachasa Keshev Rachmana L'Chag HaSukkos. You just told me a rule that when you have the words, you told me a rule, you always go for the lesser novelty, the lesser chiddush. So therefore, Shavuos has the same law, the same din as Pesach. You have 7 days to bring your Shavuos karbanos, but not like Sukkos, which has 8 days to bring the karbanos. So if so, why mention Sukkos? What is the reason the Torah mentions Sukkos if Shavuos is compared to Pesach? Why did the Torah, why did Hashem, the merciful one, even write in this pasuk, in this verse, the end of Parashat Surah, the word Sukkos? 3 times a year come to the Beis HaMikdash. Just don't mention Sukkos. What is meaning don't mention it, or why was it mentioned? What can we learn out of it? Every single word in the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu's shorthand of all the shiurim, what's it teaching us? So Gemara answers, Lakushe L'chagamatzis. It's coming to teach you that you should compare this to Pesach. Sorry about that. Compare it to Pesach. I'm going to go on this page, the next one, 5a. Ma chag hamatzos ta'on lina, af chag hasukkos ta'on lina. When you come to the Beis HaMikdash, you have to stay there overnight. You're not allowed to go to the Beis HaMikdash and bring your karban and leave. A person can think to himself, okay, I got to come up for Sukkot to the Beis HaMikdash. Sukkot is one day. I'll come up, I'll bring my karban, and I'll leave. You're not allowed to leave Matzah Yom Tov. Even Matzah Yom Tov you're not allowed to leave if you brought your karban. You have to stay there overnight. That's halacha which it says specifically about Pesach. It makes sense. A person shouldn't feel like it's a burden. I have to get this off my head. I'm in a rush. Hurry up. Let me finish this off and let me get home. Hopefully I'll be able to beat the traffic and leaving Yerushalayim as soon as I could before the big rush. And in order not to get to such a point, therefore, the Torah tells us a mitzvah. Of course, there's many more reasons, but it's a mitzvah that you're not allowed to leave the Beis Hamikdash the day that you brought the carbon. You have to stay that day and stay the night afterwards. That way, you'll have time to sit and to celebrate. You're not in a rush. You're relaxed. You're not running to make your carbon because you have nowhere to run to. You anyways have to bring your carbon. You anyways have to stay overnight in order to bring your carbon. And just like Pesach, you have to stay overnight, so to Sukkot, you have to stay overnight. Where it says Pesach, you have to stay overnight? Since when? How do you know that Pesach, one must stay overnight? You cannot leave Yerushalayim that day. So the Gemara answers, Chassidus, because it is written, Ufanisa v'aboker v'halachta lo yalecha. In the morning, you wake up and you should go to your tents. Ufanisa v'aboker v'halachta lo yalecha. So one must bring a carbon Pesach. Can't do it anywhere, only in the place Hashem says so. And in the morning, get up and go home. That means you getting up in the morning, you have already brought your carbon. Your carbon has to be brought in the daytime. After you brought your carbon, you need to get up in the morning and go back to your tents, means go back to your home. So there has to be another waking up inside of Yerushalayim after you already brought your carbon Pesach. And therefore, you have to stay another day in Yerushalayim. So you brought your carbon Oilas Re'iyah. And Boker doesn't mean, obviously, the day of Yom Tov itself. Because you have to be in the Hazara, you have to be in the Beis HaMikdash on the day of Yom Tov, because it's Shalosh Regalim, Yirah, you have to be seen. So on the day of Yom Tov, you had to have been inside of the Beis HaMikdash. So you had to have woken up the day after that to be inside of the Hazara. And you can't leave Yerushalayim on Yom Tov itself because obviously you can't travel on Yom Tov. So when it says wake up and go to your tents, you only go home after you wake up in Yerushalayim. It can't be talking about the first day of Yom Tov, but rather the first day of Chol HaMoed. That whenever you bring a carbon, so let's say over here, Sukkot, in Israel it's only one day. The first day of Sukkot is Thursday. You can't go home till if you brought your carbon on Thursday. First day you could go home is Friday. Carbon Pesach, you bring it on Erev Yom Tov, but you can't travel on Yom Tov. If Torah tells you spend the day there, it means spending an extra day there. And in general, whenever the Torah says staying overnight, the word Vayolan Sham, Linu Poya Laila, it means staying till the morning. And a night by the Lina means sleeping overnight. So one must wake up in the morning, and only in the morning could they leave on their way. And by Pesach, it says that one must stay overnight in Yerushalayim. You shouldn't be leaving Yerushalayim too fast. And the fact that the Torah puts them together, Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaShavuos, and Chag HaSukkos, you learn from each other. So from Shavuos, we learn out of Pesach that you have up to 7 days to bring a carbon. On Pesach, we know one must stay overnight, as it says a few psukim earlier. And therefore, you must also stay overnight on Sukkot. And on Shavuos, we don't have to say that because it automatically is inferred. If we're learning the whole entire Shavuos you could bring your Shavuos Karban for 7 days. We're learning it from Pesach, so it would have the same characteristics as Pesach, and therefore, whenever you bring a Karban, you have to stay overnight. You are not allowed to rush. I think we'll continue now with the Maimer of V'yadaita. You should know V'yadaita Moskva. Let's get to where we are up to. Page 235. Talking about Hashem's disguises. Hashem coming and he makes it that nobody could recognize him, nobody can know who he is. This was the mistake of the Dar Haflaga, the generation of the flood, which they thought that they're separating between Hashem and Elokim, between Hashem and Elokim. It's the nature. Hashem created the world, and then he says Hashem left the world. Just find the place in here. Here. Up to the word ubefrat right over here. Just zoom into that. Almost on the mimer. Okay. Let's go like this. Let's see how this works. Ubefrat. So we'll do that one over there. And over here. There it is. Ubefrat. So it's in this paragraph. I guess the first line over here. Maybe a tiny bit zoomed out, or a tiny bit larger. Okay. Ubefrat. Asher Yasim Aliboy. When a person who looks only at the superficial things, there's nothing in the world which could stop someone from doing a mitzvah. God forbid, there's no real concealments from Hashem. Every single medium, everything in the world is bringing Hashem's light. And there's nothing in the world how could it even possibly go against Hashem if Hashem is the one who's creating this entire existence on an ongoing basis. Rak, shehu b'psichas daitai, a person with their own underdeveloped knowledge, and if a person who is involved only in superficial type of things, he forgets completely about Hashem, and he considers physical object, a physical entity, has power over him. And then he gives himself over under the rule of nature, the universe. And then suddenly he sees that he has all these hindrances that hold him back from spiritual activity, from serving Hashem. When a person focuses their hearts and their mind on the oneness of Hashem. And Hashem is the only existence, and Hashem is the one that gives us the power to prosper. And every single other thing, every medium in the world is only merely a byway through which Hashem's blessings come. The main thing is Hashem's godliness. There will be absolutely nothing which could stop a person and hinder them from Hashem, from the inside and the outside. And this is what we see constantly, that on the one hand, we know everything is from Hashem, and Hashem is making everything happen and controlling every single thing individually, every single moment. Hashem also wants us to have free choice. And therefore, Hashem makes it seem as if we have the free choice to do what we want. And this is something which we have a very hard time to understand it. Because do we have a free choice? Do we not have a free choice? If we don't have a free choice, what is reward and what is punishment? And it's something that's even the Rambam says it's deeper than a sea, and it's very, very hard to understand. So we have to get a bracha, a blessing from Hashem for Parnasa. On the other hand, we have to make a decoy that makes it appear as if Parnasa comes not from Hashem. We have to find a job. We have to find a way of earning a living. We learned previously in Derech Mitzvah Secha that what does it mean that you have to make a larger keli? Someone says, I want to make more money. It comes from Hashem, but I have to make a big keli. So Tzemach Tzedek explains in the Glachas Mitzayra, which we learned previously, the one talking about the hair and why married women don't have to cut their hair but have to cover it, and a Nazir cuts their hair. That he says if you want to earn a lot of money, you have to do something that has the ability to earn that money. So you want to open a business that could earn millions of dollars, so you have to do something that could get that. So if a person is shining shoes at the airport, you think that they don't have that kind of ability, right? So that's the way it works from Shem Elikim, and therefore one would have to make a bigger keli. And he wants to say, I'm only going to do something that can earn a certain amount because I don't want more brachas coming from Hashem. However, one realizes that in truth, it's the essence of Elikos, the essence of the essential godliness. It's Shem Havaya. Even something very small could have a tremendous potential. Right? If you want to win a war, you have to train your armies. If you want to win a court case, you have to hire a good lawyer. It could seem that the skill of a lawyer won the case, or the skill of a doctor healed somebody, but really, in truth, it all comes from Hashem. And hiring someone who is not a good doctor, not a good lawyer, is creating a weaker concealment for the blessing of Hashem. And Hashem wants the brachas to be concealed. Right? It says, "V'rechecha Hashem alikecha b'chol asher tasa." We have to do something to make a bracha from Hashem, to receive the bracha of Hashem. So you have to make an effort, but you should know any effort that you do should not be a full-hearted effort. It should be a half-hearted effort. Meaning, this is not what's going to make it or break it. You made the possibility for the bracha of Hashem to come. B'chol asher tasa, just your hands have to do the work. But your head has to be involved in higher things. V'yeh davok rak be'elikus. And it should only be connected to Hashem. When one works It should only be with the most external. So interesting over here. It should be only with an external, with no real passion. That this is making it or breaking it. The only, of course, do an honest work, but with superficial dimensions of his will. It's skipping some words here. It's so interesting. A person has to do some type of work in order to fulfill what it says. In the Torah, Hashem will bless you whatever you do. And your business dealings will be in the desired manner, like we said earlier. They'll be honest. One person won't try outdoing or competing with someone else. And his main desire will be to come close to Hashem. And then, only then will a person be able to be complete in their relationship and attain fulfillment with Hashem, with the Torah, and with serving Hashem. So interesting. If somebody, God forbid, puts up separations between Yud-Kei, Vav-Kei, the higher name of God, the supernatural, and the name of Elikim, and name of Elikim is covering over of Havaya, God forbid. And everything which in the world takes place, you attribute it to the forces of nature, to the rules God set up in the world. So then it will follow that all the mediums are of primary concern. From there comes the source of their influence. So you could look at nature as a wall separating between us and Hashem, or you could look at nature as a window through which Hashem is shining His light into us. And the difference is, do you become overwhelmed when it seems like the world is too difficult or things are not going in a proper way? So this is what it means, that you should make Havaya Elikim, that the supernatural, above nature, essence of Hashem, Havaya, is Elikim, the creation, is the existence of the world. The world, nature is not a wall, because that is separating. Rather, it's a window, it's a connection. It's a way Hashem expresses Himself. And this is what the mistake of the Raflaga, the generation of the divide, of the Tower of Babel, that they wanted to make a tower to give themselves a name, to say that Hashem, they said, is not in the world anymore. They believed in Hashem. Hashem created everything. But they believed that Hashem set up a system, He set up this AI, that superseded Hashem's ability, His authority. So they saw no reason to appeal to Hashem, to Havaya. Nature was a wall. We have, by us, we know that the nature is merely a tool in the hands of Hashem. And this could explain, what does it mean, Azav Hashem es-haaretz? God forbid. Cheskel says about certain sinners that they say God has forsaken the world. He doesn't say Azav Elikim es-haaretz. He says Azav Havaya. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei left the world. They say that Hashem does not manifest direct influence over the world. So Say, oh, these mountain ranges have been here millions of years. They give everything by themselves. And he puts a power, an influence with every mazalis. It generally means spiritual realms, constellations, and it was used. They were always considered as sources of power, right? Those who bow to the sun and the stars, because they felt that the sun and stars have power. I explained before, because in this whole idea of astrology, it's not that their predictions are not true. These predictions could be they're true. It's Hashpa, the blessing of Hashem, coming down to the world through the mazalas. I don't know about today's astrologers, who the vast majority of them probably are shills, but astrologers from the times of Paray, astrologers from the times of Nimrod, different astrologers who they see something that Hashem is going to do in the world, and the news first comes over there, and therefore they're able to see it, tap into it. Of course, for Jewish people, we are beyond any astrological signs. Even if, God forbid, something is negative said in the stars, it could be turned over to a positive through teshuvah, tefillah, tzedakah. There are many stories in Gemara about that. Right? Shmuel from the Gemara was with Avlit. Avlit was a non-Jewish astrologer, a big sage, and both of them were very great experts in the heavens and constellations. Shmuel was living in Erda, and he said that the pathways of the heaven are as familiar to him as the pathways of the city where he lives, of Erda. And he's with Avlet, and in the morning, a group of laborers are going by. Avlet points to one of them, and he says, this particular one is not going to come back alive today. They're going to chop wood. So Shmuel told him, if he's Jewish, your prediction won't be true. If he's not Jewish, your prediction will be true. They made sure to be there when all the laborers came back at the end of the day. And they saw that the person who Avlet said he'll die was alive and well. Avlet said, something's wrong, it can't be. Ran over to him, he says, please, let me see what you have to sell. I'm selling fire, what do you want to buy? Open up your bundle. He opened the bundle. In the middle, he saw a dead serpent, a dead snake, which when the wood chopper was chopping, he chopped the wood. And he chopped the snake in half as well. He killed the snake without even knowing it. The snake would have killed him. Shmuel said, I told you, if he's Jewish, then the sun, that when the constellations can't rule, must have done a mitzvah. He asked him what mitzvah he did today, and he did a mitzvah of tzedakah, charity, in a way that it shouldn't embarrass anyone. So he did a big mitzvah that day, and that's the schus of that mitzvah saved him. Same thing with Rebbe Akiva had a daughter, and an astrologer told Rebbe Akiva that your daughter is going to die on the night of her wedding. And Rebbe Akiva didn't say anything. He davened to himself that this shouldn't be true. And during the wedding, imagine Rebbe Akiva's daughter and granddaughter of Kalba Savua, one of the wealthiest Jews in the whole Eretz Yisrael. It was a very grand wedding. Many people came. And in the middle, a poor man came in, and nobody really paid attention to this poor man. And the Kala, the bride, saw this poor man. She went and she took her own portion of food from the head table, and she gave it to the poor man to eat. Later that night, she came, went back to her house, and there's no electricity. It was dark. She took off her pin, which had her veil in it. She took out her pin and she put it into the wall. And morning she woke up, she saw that she stuck it into a snake right in its head and killed a snake, a dangerous snake. So it's very easy to make a mistake to think that, listen, there's power in these people. There's power in either the people or in the sun or the stars. And they could say, Azav Hashem es haaretz. Listen, Hashem set up the system, but it got too powerful, God forbid. think that the stars give me what I need, the sun gives me what I need, let me save the sun, nature comes, environment comes before everything. And it in turn leads the person to consider a material entity likewise important, to put all their effort and power and capacity to increase their wealth. And this is the idea of idol worship. You bow down to the stars and to the constellations, intermediaries which Hashem entrusted to give. And as the Rambam says, that the source of the bowing of idol worship began as those wanted to honor Hashem's servants. So they wanted to honor the sun and the stars, and in turn the next generation honored just the sun and the stars and forgot about the master. But that was a big mistake because they don't have any power. It's like honoring the hammer and honoring the nails as opposed to honoring the carpenter who's building it. They think that they have some type of power and ability over them. So we'll pause over here just to take out, instead of looking as a challenge, as something awful, as terrible, step back and then realize we have a choice how we're going to react. Are we going to look at the obstacle, the not good experience, as a wall? Where was Hashem during while this is going on? Or it's a window. One will actually make us have a hard time, and one will actually realize that we are right now being literally by the hand, being held by Hashem. So when someone's at the edge, you have no choice, and we have to just go further, or jump. Either Hashem will catch you, or Hashem will give you wings, and you start learning how to fly. Paraphrase. Okay, so I'm going to